If Hasbro took their flagship approach to Gen 4 by consolidating their media into just a main cartoon series and a high school spin-off, Gen 5's equivalent to that is like a giant octopus with all its hands in every conceivable cookie jar. They've had a movie, a weekly gag series on YouTube, a new comic book, an hour-long special, and now its own video game. There have never been more opportunities to get into this fandom, and I am excited to experience all of that, even the janky ones. One of the first things I did when I joined the fandom was get really sad when I found out there were no tie-in games to my new favorite pony show. I recently crumbled into dust when I had to explain to my buddy the Pinky Sense that back in the late 80s and 90s, it was common to see bad games come out that were capitalizing on the name recognition of some new thing, and usually they were pretty bad. They fell out of favor when Gen 4 was airing, probably because nobody bought them and they didn't really help the sales of the movie that much, but I kind of miss it. There was this certain charm to playing a 4 out of 10 game and being able to say, yep, that is a loose summary of the events of Toy Story 2. 20 years and one pony obsession later, I give you My Little Pony: A Maretime Bay Adventure. Let me be really honest, by all accounts this game is pretty bad. It's a 90-minute cutscene parade held together by fetch quests, awkward minigames, and the absolute worst sound mixing you could possibly imagine. But I thought everyone was sort of aware that was part of the charm. Unless you're really into ponies and you want to experience everything that Hasbro is branching off into, you're not gonna get $40 worth of enjoyment out of this game.
Paint! The best colors in Maritime Bay!
All credit to Outright Games for most likely doing exactly what they were asked to do here: create a playable experience on as many consoles as possible that includes characters, settings, and plot points for the latest iteration of the My Little Pony franchise. It's all there, and technically it functions. It's easy to grade on a curve since I'd forgotten what it was like to play a game for very young kids who might not have played a video game before or even know how to read. Every menu option is spoken out loud, which is new for me. The Switch port also tells you to press this button instead of A or B and uses one of those highlighted sigils like in Breath of the Wild, which needs to be in just every game forever until the end of time as long as I'm concerned. I also had to constantly fight those urges to look in wall crannies for secrets, since I'm sure Outright got notes not to make the game too terribly complex for kids. There's rarely anything there, and the game even gives you this butterfly buddy to help get you to the next story beat in case you get lost or frustrated.
Shimmerwing, it's you! Wow, you're really strong for a butterfly. How come you were trapped in there?
And that's honestly what's going to turn most folks off. This game is 25% minigame, 5% dress up, 70% fetch quest. Izzy needs some paint, so you go down to the paint shop pony and he'll trade you some paint for one of those swanky guard helmets. The fashion shop guy wants to trade it for a flower, and so on. Most of the game is that episode of the Rainbow Falls Trader Exchange, and I'm okay with that. I knew what I was getting into, so I'm okay not really being challenged by a kid's game. I'm just in it to explore this new world, and that's a ton of fun. Because there's still not a ton of Gen 5 content, this all feels really new and exciting. I'm not exploring a series of levels based on a movie I saw last week. This is my first time getting to hang out in Maritime Bay. I get to meet Hitch and his fun little critter ranch. I get to see exactly where Main Melody is located on Main Street. I get to meet new characters like Marcel, the bunny mob boss, and Primrose, the box horse. Did you know that Primrose is in this game? Did you know Primrose existed before this game? I did not. She is so sweet and nervous, and she has a crush on Hitch. It's adorable. These are characters that I can look forward to meeting in the new generation. That's something a property tie-in game didn't have to do, but I'm excited now. This is weird. I'm not used to being excited about something like this. Better start complaining again. Working in 3D is a skill I don't think a lot of people appreciate. You have fandom members out here like Minty Root and DJ Thed who work professionally with CGI and 3D rigging, and they are constantly learning new things about how to improve what they do. DJ even worked on the 3D modeling and rigging for this game. The transition from 2D Pony to 3D Pony was already pretty rough, and it's still going to take a little bit of adjusting for me, which might explain why the models here don't look great. I can't pretend to be an expert in the field of video game workflow, but a lot of this is pretty par for the course for a tie-in game with a budget that likely isn't AAA levels. There's a lot of one-frame character pop-in and some not-so-great texture work here and there, which isn't to say that anybody on the game development team didn't care about the project. These are just things that likely couldn't have been hugely polished with the resources they had on hand. Again, I'm not a game developer, and I did play this on Switch, which is not a console particularly known for its processing power.
The buddies love it. They tell me all the time.
There's some other baffling issues here, though. The lip flap will sometimes try to match the dialogue instead of being a one-size-fits-all generic mouth cycle, when I would have preferred one or the other. Every time you play a minigame, the game will load the environment, count down, and then open a dialogue box with instructions on how to play. That's so weird, and it happens with every minigame. It kills the pacing there, which bums me out because the minigames are actually not that bad. The star of the show are these animal herding games with Hitch, which get just hard enough to make you feel like you actually want to get good at this game. Zipp's Flight Academy is one of those stay-in-your-lane games, and there's a sprout chase at the end that flexes your timing a little bit, but the goofiest addition to this game by far has got to be PIPP Dance Parade. It's a 2-minute rhythm game with 5 possible inputs. The only visual on screen is your pony dancing, and I'm sure the developers didn't intend this, but 2 minutes is exactly enough time for me to play this game, get bored, get annoyed, and then wrap back around to laughing at the absurdity of the fact that I'm still playing this overly long rhythm game right before the track ends. A track that for some reason starts off at a whisper and gradually gets louder as you hit the right steps, that's a little weird. In fact, the whole game has this unusually poor sound mixing, some of the worst I have ever seen maybe anywhere. Like, here's a scene from the game out of context.
What's wrong?
What's wrong? Everything is wrong!
My beautiful billboard has been destroyed!
Maybe there were separate offices where the dialogue was recorded across the country somewhere, but there was zero care here to balance any of this dialogue. Hitch just wants to satisfy the bunnies, and people here are getting blasted away. It's so weird because I can't think of any reason they wouldn't have somebody take a weekend to run through every sound file in the game just to make sure that my ears don't peak like an 80s basic cable channel. I don't know, some things I'm just not meant to understand.
I kind of feel bad for the bunnies.
But at the end of the day, I bought this game for a reason, and even though I'm getting hung up on weird geometry details and can't get the dang crabs in the pen, I'm glad Hasbro did this. I said at the beginning that I'm really happy that we're getting so many different kinds of pony now. It's easy after the end of Gen 4 to feel like your favorite show might slowly be dying, but I kind of feel like the opposite is happening right now. There's way more opportunities to get involved with the fandom than there ever have been, and I'm excited for every last one of them, just as soon as I can get these crabs in the